What is up, everybody? Again, welcome to this week's episode of the Bearded Browns podcast. A lot of us aren't happy this week. We know that. I am wearing the Browns' real enemies outfit this week. You know how that goes. But yeah, we're here live. We are going to talk about our Cleveland Browns today. How was your guys' weekend, Chad? Everybody misses you, I'm sure. Start off.
Yeah, it was quite a week, man. It was hectic as heck, but I am happy to be back back to a normal routine. These conferences are like crazy. They're just like 7:30 on is like learning and like participation stuff, and then straight to like some sort of like happy hour, and then like a team building event or dinner, and then followed by like drinks, which sounds fun if you did it for like a day or two, but like 6 days in a row. And they're different people, so like the leaderships and the teams like can handle like drinking because they're there for like maybe 2 days, but like I was there for like 6, and it was so much. And after the Sunday of like drinking with the Browns backers and all that stuff like last week, like I was just toast to this week. So just to get back to like my normal life starting on like Friday night and then Saturday and Sunday, it's still been like busy, but at least it's just not bad. So thankful to be back in San Diego, like in my normal world, at my normal Browns backers bar, like with my normal like bed and routine. Whew.
Oh, here.
Yeah, it felt like that this week for sure.
Angel, how was your weekend?
Good. I celebrated, celebrated my youngest birthday again. We got scammed there because we did it the week before, but then she wanted another one. Bought a couple of not guinea pigs. What was the bigger size of a guinea pig? Oh no, it's a guinea pig. Sorry, yeah, 2 guinea pigs.
I was gonna say a hamster.
No, that's a smaller one.
Complete opposite.
And moved my grandfather out of his house apartment to a smaller apartment. Other than that, it was a busy weekend, but fun. And we did the show on Saturday, which was really good. A lot of interaction in the feed. Appreciate that.
Yes, that was a fun show.
But, other than that, just being married and a dad. Pretty basic life.
So it was my 6-year anniversary. Congrats to my wife for putting up with me for 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hero.
Wow.
Not all heroes wear capes.
They were this.
They were
Last year, on the Browns. But it was a miserable day. Not because of her. I was sick again.
I say I've been married 6 years.
It was a miserable day. Let me rephrase that.
I hope she listens
miserable.
to this.
Yeah.
And you.
I think she could actually hear me. I think she's cooking again. I smell something. But
she's cooking. That means you won't be there this next
Not
week.
for you. Yeah.
But hey, no, in all fairness, this Sunday, my anniversary, we were all miserable as Browns fans, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Not a great day.
No,
Not at all.
Seems to be a trend. Not a good day.
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to say thank you to CB Excavating and Allstate, the Doug White Allstate Insurance Agency. If you guys need anything, give them a call. They will take care of all of your needs. And again, let's welcome Chad back. I know it was a different show with Sam. We had fun, but now we're back to seriousness, and I'm in a referee uniform, and I will throw the flag.
What?
Just so we're all on the same page.
Unless you're Myles Garrett, then you won't throw a flag.
Never.
But yeah. Do you guys want to what's some trending topics real quick? Angel, go ahead, man. This is all you, buddy.
Trending topics. Yeah, trending topics. I guess there's a guy that plays for the Vegas Raiders. What's his name? Yeah, Devontae Adams. I guess he wants out per rap sheet. Rap sheet. It says rap sheet. Rap sheet Garfalio, right? Like, so there's some reports that he wants to get out, right? So it's evident the Browns fans want him, right? Because he's a receiver, which is a need in our team, supposedly, even though we have no linemen. But
we have other need. It would be nice to have a better receiver. It would be nice to have a lot of other things.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a line to protect, to throw the ball to that receiver, but that's besides the point. But yeah, I guess he wants out of Vegas. And everybody seems to want him. I think there's about 5 teams rumored right now to want him, if you believe in the early reports. But I don't. I Browns fans are already doing trade mocks on X, and it's hilarious to see. If you're on X and you see someone doing a trade mock for Devontae, what I think is funny is what's included in this trade is the guy that they were advocating for about 3 months ago. You gotta sign Cooper. You have to sign him. He needs to play. He needs to be a Brown. He should retire as a Brown.
People wanted to extend him for 2 additional years. Like they were
Now
like, sign him through 2026.
Yeah, now they're like, add him to this trade package so we can get a receiver that's a year older than him.
Yeah.
Make it make sense. It's like we fall in love with anybody other than the players we have. And I get Cooper has any issues, and we'll talk about that later. But let's calm down, people.
It's like the Brandon Ayuk right now has 0 touchdowns, 0 receptions. Like, man, you guys.
Well, that's what happens when you sit out the entire training camp. Like nobody expected him to come in well because he sat out. He missed the whole training camp. He's not going to be good until like probably late October now. And they have other options to go to. That's why the shocking thing with Brandon Ayuk was, if you were just going to fold and eventually sign him for pretty much exactly what he wanted, why didn't you guys just get him into camp then? Instead, they like played this like chicken game, and they both lose. Brandon Ayuk, he got paid, but he looks terrible, and the 49ers don't have one of their weapons. So that just didn't work for anybody. They should have traded him in June or May or March when he asked to be traded if they weren't going to pay him. And if they were, they should have just paid him and got him into camp. Amari might have a little bit of this lag too because he didn't get into camp, but he didn't sit out nearly as long as Ayuk.
Yeah.
And you can see what even missing a little time has done with him. And so, I mean,
I just want to say quickly, I hate how cocky some of these players are getting. Yeah, you may be good, you may be an asset to a team, but you're only hurting yourself in the long run, in my opinion. That's the way I look at it, especially after watching people like IU and Cooper this year. A little bit older, yeah, I get it. I mean, Ayuk's what, 26, 27? Something like that?
Yeah, I think he's 27.
Ayuk?
Yeah. He's young,
Ayuk,
right?
I think is 20, just turned 26.
Yeah.
So 26 years old, but I mean, stop being cocky, man. It's a sport. You're getting paid damn good money to go out and play. Just stop. I mean, I get it. And every position we're seeing the price raise and raise and raise, just like the economy right now. That's how it's working in the NFL. So,
well, anyways, people are really interested in Adams. I don't know. Like he's not been there. Yeah. So I don't know like what his deal is, but essentially, like unless you're doing some kind of Cooper one-on-one trade and expecting there's going to be a huge problem with the chemistry and the playbook for a month, I don't know what else you would go forward trading. He's not going to help the team that much with the receivers we already have here and the inability to create a passing offense. I don't think so. Like, I just think people are like, oh, a trade target, let's get him.
Yeah.
I just don't know that the price will be right. Just like everybody, like you mentioned, people want to trade Coop now. I love the constant Cleveland idea of we don't like him right now because he's playing poorly. Trade him. Like any other team then is interested and you're trash that you want to get rid of because he's playing bad. The best thing you can hope for is to get him through this and get him back to himself. I expected a drop off based on his age, but I don't think this is that. I think this is just a poor start to a season, and they need to get him in the room and out on the practice field and just correcting this issue.
I'm going to hit some of these comments really quick before we move on to the good, the bad, and the ugly. Sam says no tornadoes is a plus because last week when we had Sam on the show, I don't know if you watched the show yet, Chad, but my phone I always mute my phone during the show, but a warning went off on my phone and it was like ear piercing to everybody. So and we had a tornado.
Those ones, it doesn't matter what, if you're on Do Not Disturb or anything, the hurricane warnings and stuff come right through.
It went off.
I was in that, by the way. I got out of Atlanta just in time because everybody who flew out, who was scheduled to fly out after me, because I flew out later than a lot of the people in our team, anybody who had a flight after me ended up trapped there.
Oh
and
man.
get stuck for an extra day because like the winds were so high and the rain was coming in up from Florida into Georgia, and Georgia ended up basically okay, but like the winds and the rain were crazy. So a lot of people got stuck in that hurricane that you got buzzed for.
That is a bummer.
Yep.
James said, well, Watson had a great game and Judy played all right. And we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Sam said, we're not getting Adams. I don't think so either. I don't think any of us
Me
think
either.
we're getting Adams.
We all agreed that. Yeah, I agree.
James Frank again says, I was one of them. I believe in Chad who said no, and Chad, you were right. I think you were when we were talking about Amari Cooper. Is Jamari Thrash ready to go for Saturday or Sunday? I hope he gets some reps. And everybody, I'm going to have to say it's my guy, man. So, yeah, James, let's hope. We'll see. I'm not going to say throw the rookie
the
out
only
there.
thing I would say about Jamari Thrash is, and I don't give up on anybody early, but Tillman has showed me nothing. So like, if you can get Thrash dressed, at least like if you like James Prochet doesn't show me anything either. You think Jamari Thrash can help return? Because if so, get him dressed for that, and let's see if he can get out for some plays. I don't have Mike's like excitement that he's going to be good, but also like the guys behind your top three are showing next to nothing. So like, I don't know. I don't think Tillman needs to be out there over him. Tillman's doing nothing for a year, and
I would hope to add Thrash for some speed purposes right now because I feel like maybe just speed alone may throw up the defense a little bit. But yeah, hopefully, if someone doesn't step up soon, maybe after the bye week, we'll might see him because, like you said, Tillman's not done nothing, 0
yet.
And I'm not gonna like give up on the guy, but like he just hasn't shown anything. So we still have Browns fans out there who are like, oh, like we need to get Tillman involved, or like if you trade Cooper, then you can get Tillman in and get him more reps. Like, what have you seen from Tillman that makes you think he deserves Cooper's reps? Like Cooper has started the season terrible and had 2 more drops in addition to like his 4 earlier in the season already, but he also has some positive plays, including what should have been an 80-yard touchdown that we'll get into later. And Tillman, have you seen Tillman make one play on this team in regular season yet? Like,
no.
Come on, guys, pay attention. Like, he's not just hiding on the bench. He's been out there. He just makes no plays. In fact, he made a giant drop in the Bears game that basically ended that game. So, but I'm still seeing people like more reps for Tillman. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
All right, gentlemen. Good, the bad, and the ugly.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I'm taking the good this week, and to a lot of people's dismay out there, my good is Deshaun Watson. And the reason I put him as the good, and I think probably the first time this season he deserves a little bit of praise. And we thought he played much better in Jacksonville, but like this is a time where I actually think he tried to put the team on his shoulders, and maybe he's not quite there yet, but like it was so much more positive than negative. He made 1 or 2 big mistakes in the game, but in the whole scheme of things, this was the first game. And it's funny because it's a loss, and this is the worst I've felt about the season and the team because they just dug themselves into a hole that we have all been like praying they wouldn't fall into. But because we've got this guy under contract for this year and potentially 2 more, the biggest thing I think we need for the future is for this guy to start turning back into himself, get out there and play a whole season and actually work into form. And this Sunday, he delivered the ball better. He read the defense better. He took hits delivering the ball and got back up. He ran a couple of times right after he made an announcement like, I'm trying not to just be a runner. I'm trying to play quarterback. And then he did run just enough. And he also showed some great escapability and the ability to make the kind of plays, at least occasionally, that he was brought in here to make. So for the first time, I think his stat line was better. If you watched the game, despite the terrible offensive line play and the mistakes, he looked a lot better. His PFF grade was incredibly better. Like overall, no matter who you're looking at, stats, advanced analytics, PFF, just the eye test, he looks like a quarterback that can win you some games in the NFL for maybe the first time since the last Baltimore Ravens game a year earlier.
I believe he had the highest PFF score on the entire team.
Yeah, and the big thing is like, okay, and the team kind of stunk, so you can like say, well, yeah, they stunk, a lot of them. But when you look at like the entire NFL, I think, let me see where. Well, we can take a quick look at where he lands, like on player grades for the NFL. I have PFF open right here. So when you just look at his score compared to the entire NFL throughout this season, he's at a grade of a 69, which is like a pretty decent grade. Well, this week he had an 86, which means he brought himself way up, which means he must have been like around a 60, which is bad, real bad. And so he went from being like towards the bottom of the league to bumping himself up huge with an 80-point performance this week. And that's, it's just so crucial because like without the quarterback, we just don't have much to look forward to be honest, right? Like without the quarterback playing well, we just have like no hope essentially, because of course they could draft somebody, they could try to pull in somebody else, but this is the best case scenario for the Browns is he just starts playing well. So I think the good is that for the first time in a long time, he played well.
Yeah, I agree. The bad. It's the offensive line again, and there's something that has to change with the offensive line. And you watched it. If you guys really paid attention to the line on Sunday, you could see how in dismay they were. It was sickening. It was literally like zero time in the pocket. And Chad actually made a comment and said the dude had like 1 second in the pocket, maybe 2 or something like that. It was horrible.
It was that comment where the guy's like you got to be able to deliver the ball here. And I said something like, well, the guy had like 1 second to throw, and the response comment was like 1.8 or something. And I'm like, that's still not good. That's still not great. Like,
not only that,
yeah, I was exaggerating, like making a comment, but I'm like, and then you get specific, and it's still so bad. Like,
yeah.
The thing we got to work on, obviously, is the future of this line. Obviously, injuries are a huge issue the last 2 years. Age for offensive linemen are getting up there. It's time to change that. That's my biggest concern right now. Obviously,
and that's a good thing for the bad, because honestly, like, why that's so bad is because there's no changes to be made now. Like, people will say, like, oh, we'll make a trade, but like, teams aren't looking to trade us a starting offensive lineman at this point in the season.
Even a backup.
Trying to win. And even if your team is bad, like, you probably have a quarterback you don't want dead, so you're not going to trade tackles or somebody to us. And it's hard for us to get those trades in because, Pochik is hurt, Wills is hurt, Conklin is hurt, Teller is hurt, but you want all of those guys to come back. So like, you can't just trade for a replacement for them because most of those guys are under contract besides Wills. So you don't have anywhere to put them if you trade assets for somebody to replace them. So it's not changing. They need to actually find a way to change the scheme to get the guys out there playing better together, communicating together, and hopefully get some of these guys healthy and back out there, because you can see the difference.
I mean, I want to say the biggest worry right now is DeJuan Jones. I did like the argument that had happened this weekend, where it seemed, hey, dude, get your head out of your ass. You got to just block this one guy. And I've seen sometimes where there's 2 guys running at him, and he was still trying to make it happen, but you didn't. Even when there's one guy running at you, they ran right past you like it was effortless. It's time to block, man. And I even got mad. I sincerely got mad. I'm sitting here on my computer watching the game, and my wife is in there cooking. And I walk in there, and I'm like, I know it's not easy to block big dudes running at you, but you have that one job, man. You just put your arms up and push these dudes away from your quarterback. That's not easy.
He was our lowest rated lineman this week.
Yeah.
PFF has him at a 42.5, and it's by far his worst game, by far his worst week. The bad news is, as a whole, like for the season, he's not much better. So it's not like just this outlier one bad game. Like, he has been pretty bad this whole season. And I honestly, just like I said, I know some of it is probably because, like, his grade for the season is a 53. Last year he was like a 65 player as a rookie. And I'm sure some of it is because that he looks out of shape, he looks bigger, he looks slower. And I'm sure some of that was because he couldn't keep in shape in the offseason recovering from that knee injury. But he has to be better than this, because not only is he slow, but he's completely missing blocks and, like, getting caught between two guys. Like, who do I take? And then he ends up getting neither. He, like, goes for one, switches to another, and then goes for the first one again. And that guy's already passed him. And then when he turns, that guy's passed him. Deshaun's like, oh, no. Like, I can maybe dodge a guy, but I definitely can't dodge both of these guys.
Really quick, before we get to the ugly, I'm going to hit a couple of these comments really quick. Replying to what Chad said, Watson has even said he gets better as the season goes on, should get better this week. And that sounds like Kevin Stefanski in a way. We need to play better. But he's showing improvement every week. So I agree, yes. James also says, I can't remember his name, but I like the kid from Michigan, Zach Zinter. And he had a pretty low PFF score this week as well, but he's a rookie. He's showing some type of
his first game. So it's like,
so we'll take that. Sam says DeJuan Jones ain't too many chicken wings on rehab.
I mean, I hate to pick on a guy's weight, but he looks real big out there. And somebody commented that on the radio, I think this morning. He's like, well, he's a big guy. And I'm like, we can tell the difference between he was a big guy last year and he looks big.
Did you guys hear on the radio today? They were talking about it. They said you're supposed to be at a set weight limit, and if you exceed that weight limit, you get charged like $750 per pound that you're over, and you can get charged twice a week. Yeah.
Yep. I know about that. You get like a leeway, like you're supposed to be within like a 5-pound radius or something, depending on like how big you are. But like the linemen are supposed to have a weight that they set that when you come into camp, you need to be under this weight. And and if they're over it, they get fined by the team as part of their contract, which is crazy per pound too. Like I've heard that like pound. It's not even like you get charged for being over. You get charged per pound that you're over until you get yourself back down into shape.
Can you imagine walking to the locker room like, you're too fat, 750, bro. 750 times 17.
80.
And the worst part is, hey, this is crazy too, because like I said, I feel like he's slow, a little bit out of shape because of the recovery from that injury. But that doesn't mean you can't diet. It doesn't mean you can't keep slimmer. Like, and this was a big thing about DeJuan Jones when he came out of college. People were like, he's heavy. We don't know how seriously he takes things. Like when he came into camp last year, the Browns destroyed him. Like as far as like you have to, they just put him to work as far as running laps, like get your weight down, like get in shape. They made him play whole preseason games because he was overweight and out of shape, and like that was a worry. And we maybe underestimated it coming into this. I was concerned he'd be a little bit off coming off the injury, but I hadn't really even thought about like, his weight issues. It became pretty apparent.
Yes.
Yeah.
One more
Good comment from everybody.
One more comment, and then we'll get. Yeah, go ahead, Angel.
Jen said, to be honest, this has nothing short of what a true Browns fan's accustomed to, disappointment. But this week, Deshaun Watson showed way more effort than the past three, and his offensive line failed him. Just saying, we agree. And that's the encouragement there. If anyone wants some type of encouragement, look at the trend. He's going up, and that's encouraging. Now what we need is a healthy line to get healthy, and as he's trending up, that line will get healthier, and then maybe they can salvage this season.
Yes, and thank you, Gregory H on YouTube. Appreciate you, buddy. Let's get to the ugly.
The ugly is ugly. The ugly is shoulder tackles. That's something that we as Browns fans saw a lot of on Sunday, where I think Myles brought it up in his interview, his press conference. He said that a lot of players are trying to rip the ball away and not tackle, and that's what you see. They're going high, trying to force a fumble, trying to force something to happen, as opposed to wrapping and let somebody else come and hit the ball out. So
Yeah.
it's ugly. This game was ugly. I'll give you a stat real quick. The Browns allowed 99 yards on 20 missed tackles. That's per next gen stats. This game against the Raiders. And this is the first time since 2009 two wide receivers scored a rushing touchdown in the same game. That's how bad the rush defense was. And by the way, the worst rush offense coming into that game was the Raiders, and they were averaging 52 rushing yards a game, and they put a $150 on you. And
Wow.
99 of that was
Tripled their
at the
average. They
contact.
tripled their
Yeah.
average
On
rushing
us.
yards on you.
Yes, on Saturday we
Teams
talked
have
about
figured
it.
it out. Teams have
Yeah.
figured out. They're like, this defense is going to come straight up the middle. Let's just rush outside and try to take it wide.
Fast.
And when you take it wide, what you set yourself up for is the potential to lose yardage. But if these guys aren't making tackles, you give yourself the chance to have a big rush because you put yourself one-on-one with a linebacker, safety, or cornerback if you rush wide. If they get into you, which I saw a lot, I was like, oh, this guy's about to lose 6 yards. And then somebody comes flying in, Emerson, his shoulder smashes into a guy, the guy bounces back, and then there's nobody there, and just boom, takes off. The other thing I heard from a defensive player, and it was somewhere in the interview process, I don't remember who it was, but he said, these Browns players are coming in like they're trying to lay down this giant hit and cause a big play like a fumble, but they should be taught that the first player in isn't supposed to do that. The first player in should be trying to wrap and either slow a guy down or bring him down. The second guy in should be who dives in and tries to put the shoulder or fist into the ball and knock it free, because now it's like a guaranteed he's either going to go down or we're going to get the ball. Whereas if the first guy's doing that and you don't knock it free, I mean, you got nothing. This team will just demoralize you.
Yeah, and it's just
if the Raiders can do it, then I guarantee the Commanders can do it.
And
a much better run game.
Most importantly, Ravens. I mean, they can definitely do it with Henry. I mean, he's the biggest running back in our division. We play him twice, so that's going to be ugly if we keep on doing that.
Yeah, it's an easy guy to bounce off of.
Yeah, he's fast too.
Was that an intended pun?
Nice.
But yeah, let's see. I think it's Guru 1911 says this team needs coaching. They're failing in the fundamentals, drops, missed tackles and blocks, missed field goals. Those are coaching issues. This team is talented, and Watson was good. While we agree, there is so much more to. It's a team effort at the end of the day. We all know that. It's just weird to me how one day Deshaun shows up and had a great game, and then everybody else just fell off of a table. And we're going to get to more of that. It's just, it's kind of sickening, and in a way, like you sat there and we had hope, and we thought this was a for sure win. We thought a couple of the games were for sure wins. Chad, it seems that you've been right so far. I mean, after seeing the first couple of games,
the worst thing to ever be right about is thinking that this is not going to be a very good team. That's so disappointing to be the thing that I was right about, is that we were a single-digit win team.
And it's crazy because you see, you see it every, especially last week, you do roster to roster and you think, oh man, we should win by a touchdown. And it's just not coming together, and it's so weird to see.
That team without Devontae Adams and Max Crosby is one of the worst rosters in the NFL, no doubt in my mind. And the fact that the Browns let them just outplay them, muscle them
in
and
every
just out-tough
category.
them was pretty eye-opening. I mean, I thought we had more talent than. I mean, we beat the Jaguars. I think we had more talent than the Jaguars, but I thought we had more talent than the Giants. And I got like, oh, the Giants' biggest strength, which was like their front defensive, like front six, is the Browns' biggest weakness because our offensive line is struggling right now, and Deshaun's not back to himself yet. So I thought, okay, we played them close. We should have beat them. We could have beat them, but they beat us with like. Their strength was our weakness, and that happens. The Raiders' weakness was what beat us, and that's their running game. And it's
That's
like,
insane.
How did you let their weakness beat one of our strengths, our defense? And I don't know how you even like cover this one in the film room. The coaches have to be absolutely like irate.
And to go back to it, like they have 26 they have 26 missed tackles in the whole league as a team. That's 12th highest in the league. Now, to put it in perspective, the Bucs have 41 missed tackles, which leads the league in missed tackles. And the 49ers, who have discipline, obviously, great coaching staff, have 14. So, I mean, you're not the worst, but you're definitely – it's losing you games. And they come in and
the thing is, they have these weaknesses that are so apparent that you can't let that be one of them.
Yeah,
you can't create more, right? There's some things you can't help. We talked about the offensive line is bad. They're also very injured. They have a new scheme they're learning, and they have a brand new offensive line coach. There's a lot of reason the offensive line might need time to heal and improve. You need other areas of the team to make up for that, and you're not getting it. And that's one where like that doesn't have to be a weakness of the Browns. They shouldn't even be in the middle. They should be at the bottom. They have very good defensive players. Like on paper and all with a really big track record. These aren't rookies missing like these are all veteran players. There is no rookies playing on your defense right now. All of these guys have a pretty good longevity with playing well, and it's just shocking to me that they're letting things like missed tackles happen. And like, are they just thinking, well, our offense can't do much, so we have to make big plays? You don't. You just have to make stops, and the offense will get in a rhythm. So just don't try to do more than you're supposed to do. Do your job, and we will be completely fine.
I agree 100%.
No excuses on the defense. No very minor injuries on the defense. No giant scheme change. Most of them have played with each other before. The defense is playing well, but there's no excuse for something like no rushing defense and missed tackles. They need to clean that up.
The thing that pissed me off the most about the game, to be honest, was that the Raiders have one of the worst running defenses in the league. The worst. And we couldn't
just like
run
the Giants.
Yeah,
it's like the Giants. I don't even know we can't run the ball. Dorsey, I think, literally got fired from Buffalo because he refused to run the ball and he refused to create an offense with a lot of running plays. And essentially, when he left, the big change in Buffalo was they started running the ball. If anybody plays fantasy, you saw their running back completely change from basically a bust to an incredibly valuable player just because they started using him. And like, I get Stefanski's calling the plays, but him and Dorsey, just like Alex Van Pelt last year, creates the game plan for the week. Dorsey has to look at New York and look at Las Vegas and say, this team can't stop the run. I know we want to get our quarterback going. I know we think our receivers are a stronger part of this team than the running backs, but who cares? Like, if they can't stop the run, let's make running a huge part of this game plan. And they're not making that a huge part of the game plan.
Two things I want to bring up really, really quick. The Browns are 4th for passing the ball. 4th. We are 4th in passing the ball.
And I get, we don't have Nick Chubb. We have the exact running backs we knew we were going into the season with. Like, Pierre Strong was never going to be a giant part of this rushing attack. We have Foreman, we have Ford. You knew that's what you'd have for the month of September and probably most of October, if not longer. You needed to go in and find what running plays work for them, and let's create a running attack, and they're not doing it. It's not excusable. Like, they need to go in to the film room this week, look at what they've done well running the ball, and create a running attack. They have to.
100%. Browns Live, thank you for joining us. And everybody in YouTube right now, love your guys' argument. It's awesome. We'll try to get to some of it. We got to move along here. There is so much disappointment in this week's game. For sure, we thought it was going to be a shoo-in win, and obviously it didn't work out that way. I've never been so sober and so stressed at the same time during a Browns game. Does that make any sense to you guys? Like, is that a thing? Like I get, if I'm drinking while watching a Browns game, I stay content and I'm cool with whatever happens. But I was sober, I seem to get more mad because the potential is there. The roster says it's there.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's injuries. There's injuries. We know this, but we dealt with them last year. And get this out of the way really quick. For all you Baker and Flacco guys, we're not talking about it today. Don't bring it up. If it's in the chat, I'm going to delete it. That's simple.
But
so
you just brought it up.
I just wanted to touch base with that.
It's always Mike that brings it up. He's like, I don't want to talk about this.
I'm not talking about.
I meant to do it in the beginning of the show. I really did, but yeah, I don't want to talk about it today.
But
now that you brought it up, Flacco, talk about. Whew.
And Chad's gone. It's like boop boop boop.
Yeah, and it's against the Steelers defense, who's formidable, by the way. But let's talk about the issue that we have is missed opportunities or blown opportunities, right? So we can contribute to two issues in this team currently. Other than injuries, you can't fix that. But the mistakes you can possibly fix, and the two mistakes we constantly make every game is penalties and drops. Correct?
Yep.
Penalties and drops; those are fixable.
Yep. When you get over the roster and you get over who's there, those are the two things.
Those are the two things that
and tackles. I mean, that's it. We just covered tackles. The defense needs to tackle, especially running backs. The receivers need to stop dropping balls, and this team needs to get focused and stop making huge penalties at crucial plays in the game.
That Watson,
thank you. Sorry.
That Watson pass to Cooper was the best pass he has ever done as a Brown, right?
Okay.
And it gets called back.
Just to be fair, I think that was one of the worst holding calls I've seen.
I agree with that.
Whole season.
Yeah.
So yes, but here's part of the problem. When you're a team who's getting constantly penalized for things like holds, the refs are looking for it. They're going to call it.
Yep.
And so now they're like, oh, well, I saw this guy holding up a block. I know that nobody on this offensive line is ever holding blocks unless they're holding. So he sees the slightest snag of a jersey and the flag goes up because he's thinking it already. Because that's what we've seen for a month is the Browns holding, jumping off sides, getting the defense or the offensive line getting manhandled. So when you do have somebody like Harris holding that block for that long, Deshaun starts to fade out to the right and he lets go the exact way you're supposed to. Like the announcers went crazy. I'm so glad that Ross Tucker was covering the game, being a former offensive lineman himself. And he's like, you got to know how to well, that's not a hole. He just made it. And
he's like, wait,
that was it. He's like, that's a terrible call on the replay. But exactly like we talked about, they've been so penalized. It's not shocking for the refs to think he's probably holding because it's just been such bad line play.
So how bad is this penalty problem? I'll tell you, it's 34 penalties, 250 yards. Now, this is not counting the penalties that have been declined or not accepted. Okay, they have been declined or not accepted. So you're averaging 8.5 per game. What you have on this list is 4 false starts, 8 offensive holdings, which leads the categories, 5 offsides, 2 for Myles, 2 defensive holdings, 1 defensive pass interference, 2 roughing the passer calls, which were bogus, by the way, and 12 other, which I am assuming has to do with special teams. That's what's killing you.
You know what that sounds like is 5 free touchdowns.
Yeah. It's insane to see those numbers, and when you break it down like that, to see offsides, offensive.
You highlighted the holding, and I don't think that Mari one was a hold. But if the Browns didn't have so many holding calls in the previous 3 weeks, maybe the refs aren't feeling like that's a hold.
True.
I don't know.
You know what I did?
That's the biggest. I think that's the easiest thing. That's just get in the film room, get your guys focused, and then the dropped passes. I will say. It still wasn't good. I think Amari dropped 2 this game, and both of them were really clutch. One led to an interception. I think one was a potential touchdown. But for me, he's showing signs of life the last 2 weeks compared to the first 2 weeks. So it would be forgivable if those first 2 weeks didn't exist. If he didn't play week 1 or 2, or he was fine, I think you'd say like, oh, he's dropped a couple passes. Because he did so poorly at the beginning, now it's a trend. And now it's like, okay, he can't quite get it together. So even though he finally has some positives the last 2 weeks to go with the negatives are the game losers. That interception lost them the game. That, like, not catching the ball in the end zone loses you a game.
Yeah.
These are 1-score games. And so, and the big thing is Jerry Jeudy has a history of drops, and I think he's gotten much better at it.
He's got
there's
one,
a little bit of history there.
Yes,
And now and everybody has some. The problem is the Browns have so many more than the rest of the NFL. Like, you could say every NFL team has. Somebody was on the radio earlier today and was like, well, every team has drops. So, and it's like, yeah, well, every team has drops. So if the Browns were right in the middle, right in the average, sure. But when you are the leader in the NFL at drops, like, then your team is a problem. Yeah.
Listen, anybody could argue that Jerry Jeudy drop. You had 2 guys on you. It was a dime pass. It was a dime. That was a dime right into his arms. But you had 2 guys that immediately hit you as soon as the balls hit your hands. It was a clean play, but he dropped it. And as unfortunate as it was.
The problem is, like we said, the trend. Like, if that was his only drop, it'd be like, oh, well, that's a pretty reasonable drop. But because there's been so many others, it just is like tagging on another one to the list, and it starts to become like,
and Jen was going to say my exact point. It's not just the 14 drops. It seems like the drops are in crucial moments of the game, right? It's like it's a touchdown to take the lead.
Third down and 11, and you have a 14-yard catch that you drop. You're like, no.
It's so crucial. It's like you can drop a first down, whatever, and then get it back, right? But it's plays that seem to change the momentum of the game. Like, you just got momentum. All you need is 3rd down. You can score, and you can just keep this momentum to score. And it just falls flat when they drop it.
So transition-wise, I saw somebody put on the outline about, since we're talking about receivers, that Jerry Jeudy had mentioned after the game that he's just tired and doesn't feel like he's in good shape.
Yeah, bring
what
that
are you guys
up.
thoughts on that? Because my biggest thought on that was like, probably just don't say.
Yeah,
you partially appreciate the honesty, but the other part of you is like, no.
Yeah.
The one thing Cleveland doesn't want to hear. And Sam and I talked. Sam called me earlier, and he was like, bro, no.
I appreciate the honesty, but there's 2 arguments to that. Like, well, he didn't go to OTAs in practice. He was somewhat injured with the hamstring, right? So he's still kind of catching up. But I agree with you. Like, why are you saying like, yeah, I'm kind of slow. I was kind of wore out in Vegas. I'm just gonna do some extra laps. Like, dude, like, just do it.
At least I'll say, at least he's like, okay, I'm gonna do some extra work. Like, I don't mind if Deshaun in this game in the press conference, like, this falls on me. If I just make one more play in this game, we win. Fine. I don't think that's true, but I appreciate anybody saying like, this is on me and I'm gonna do something to get it better. But it's just like right now, like, this team looks worn out. They look slow. They look gassed. They look outmatched. And so just to hear somebody, especially somebody that everybody's like fine with right now, being like, yeah, we're just not in shape.
We're not in shape. It's like, this is what, and the whole preseason topic, right? Like, we should have put preseason. Now it's like, not Judy, you just causing more fire. I understand you want to take the blame. You want to say to focus on me.
And you're right. He was injured for like some of the summer, and he did get a late start. So maybe it's just himself is not in as good of shape as he wants. But it's like, oh, what a bummer time for that to be a topic all over the interweb.
It really didn't get a lot of coverage, probably because the Browns suck. But I'm thinking, like, when I heard that, I'm like, did he just? I was on X.
Imagine if Amari had said that now. Oh my God!
Trade him for a 7th. Give him a 7th.
People still think we can get like a 2nd round pick for Amari, and I'm like, you realize 3 years younger Amari, we gave a 5th for. Yeah. What team is giving up a 7th or a 2nd 3 years later, and when he's more expensive?
Chad and I have been arguing facts all week on X. It seems
like, come on, guys, think like, you know, the history, you know what we gave up to give him, and nobody else gave anything. Why now, when he's struggling, would somebody give up more?
Right, guys, we need to put the squares back in the notes just so we're all clear on as to where we're at.
They're in the notes.
I don't see. Oh, I see the injuries are squares, like the checkoffs.
You need to refresh.
I
Refresh,
can't.
man. Update your app, bro.
I'm logged into the wrong
I
email.
will.
I can't, or it's gonna kick me out.
Yeah,
Mine's all squares. I've been checking them off as we go.
All right, so I'm gonna. You guys
Yeah.
go ahead and talk then. I'm gonna log into the right email so I could hit that up.
I feel like
Why? You're in the wrong email. You're not getting the live updates.
Well, it's
Yeah,
in our
sorry, bro.
email, so I that was my fault.
So one more thing about Watson, because I felt like we already talked about the poor line play. Watson, one more. Here's some. I'll give you some stats about Watson in the last 10 games, which is it's encouraging because it's a trend. You want to see a good trajectory up. It's 57 for 88. He's 57 for 88, which is 65%. He can improve a little bit on that. 469 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 INTs. Now, that 0 INTs there because I believe that INT is not his fault, so I'm not going to give him credit for it. But if you want to put one there, then that's fine. So
they do have credit. So the original INT is why regular stats are not great because of course he does have an interception there. Yeah. But when you look at like next gen stats, or if you look at the PFF like corrected stats, they do like corrected catch rate and corrected like passer rating and all that stuff. That's why I like those because it's a very clear. Some of it people are like, well, there's some subjective there, and it's like there should be some subjective to stats sometimes when it's like he throws it to a guy like Tillman, hits him in the chest, he doesn't catch it. Well, that's a catchable ball, so that should not count against Deshaun. It hits Amari in the chest and pops straight up. If he gets his hands on it, that's a great catch for like 24 yards. Like, so I like to occasionally correct the stats to match what's actually out there, what we're seeing. So.
Well, we should
again, and that's pretty good. Like, and you said 65% could be better. Yeah, his best years, he was closer to 68+%. But like, if you have a quarterback that's 65%, you're feeling pretty good. And if you have a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio or better, you're feeling real good about that quarterback. Which is why I've been telling people all week, this is not the week to be on Deshaun, because we should be pressuring the rest of the team to help him out, because for a while there was plenty of games that were on Deshaun for the 6 he had his first season here and the 6-5 he played last year. There was plenty to say like, oh, he only played like 3 good games last year and he didn't really play any good games the year before. This year he's starting to show some good games, so I think it's time for the rest of this team to step up and help him out a little bit.
All right. Well, we're still on the subject of offense before we move along to injuries. Clearly, people are ready to fire Andy Dickerson, and I don't think that's completely the case. It shouldn't be the case because obviously you're dealing with so many injuries at the moment. Should there be some adjustment? Yes. Are we on the same page?
Yeah.
Yes.
This was a big talking point for me this week because people were, so first of all, saw so many people like, we should have never let Callahan go. Like, we didn't fire Callahan. Callahan left our team to go coach with his son. It was a once in a lifetime opportunity, and everybody knew it was coming, and there was no stopping that. So people just talking about our ex quarterbacks, like, you got to let Callahan go because he chose to leave, and he chose to leave for a reason I think all of us, can relate to. Like, that's, if I got a chance to do my dream job with my dad for a couple of years, like, that would be awesome. Like, LeBron manipulated the entire NBA so that he could play a season with his son. Like, people want these kind of opportunities. Shanahan coached with his dad at one point. Belichick coached with his dad or son at one point.
Threw a flag on that play.
That's good.
These guys want a chance to do that. So there was no getting around that. But as far as Andy Dickerson, the idea for Browns fans of well, the line doesn't look good, and he's been here for 4 weeks of the season. Fire him. Once again, you have no one else to put in that spot, so you can't fire him. And 2, why don't you let a first-time Browns coach get a chance to fix this, especially knowing, everyone out there, that our offensive line is supposed to be Jedrick Wills, Joel Bitonio, Ethan Pocic, Wyatt Teller, and Jack Conklin, and then our swing tackle filling in for Wills or Conklin, whichever we could whoever we needed the most should be DeJuan Jones. Instead, we have Hudson the third on the left. Now we have Batonio, starter, having a rough season compared to his normal self, but starter. We had Nick Harris playing center. We have a rookie, Zach Zinter, playing right guard. And then we have an out of shape, coming off an injury, DeJuan Jones playing the right. This is not a situation any head coach would be or any line coach would be very successful in. It's just not a great situation, everyone. Give him a chance to get his players back, get through his first season here, see if he can make adjustments. And they're also dealing with an offense that's also pretty new, even to Stefanski.
If I could encourage you guys to go on YouTube and watch and comment with these two guys in here that are having some very, very good, valid arguments right now, is be the place to go.
We got a back and forth?
It's a good back and forth. Not bad at all. Good. Both making very good points. And I want to touch base with it, but we don't have too much time left.
So let me run through these injuries just so everybody knows. It's easy because I don't know anything about these. The updates have been, these aren't star players. And so when you know the NFL the way that kind of we do, it's not reported the way it would be if, I don't know, Watson went down. So Jordan Hicks, all I know is it was an elbow injury. I don't know if he hyperextended or sprained his elbow. So we'll keep an eye on the timeline there. Ethan went out and Nick Harris replaced him because of an ankle injury. That's one that we'll follow. He may not be out that much time. And Nick had some struggles, but honestly, I don't think Nick was our biggest problem either. So we'll keep an eye out. He's a starting caliber tackle, but again, it doesn't mean he's in the communication and he's in rhythm with everybody. Martin Emerson's in concussion protocol now. He had a terrible game, but we still need him out there, and we need him playing and getting back into his rhythm.
That's Angel's man crush.
The only positive, yeah, and he's been good. He's having a bad year though, and he's having an Amari Cooper year, an out of character bad year, and he needs to work himself out of it. It happens in pitchers does it all the time. You have a bad streak, you play your way through it, and you get better. Like, we don't think he's a bad player, but we need him out there playing so he can play through it. And then the only positive injury news is that Nick Chubb got activated. Apparently, I think it's supposed to happen tomorrow. He's expected to be activated from the PUP list, which puts him in his 21-day return window, which means for 3 weeks, he's allowed to practice with the team, be in all the meetings, be out there without having to actually take up his active roster spot for a total of 21 days, which means if they're timing it right, he could be back in 3 or 4 games. I guess not 3. So he could be back at the 4th game from now or the 5th. Depending on if they keep him 21 days or eventually 28. But we're looking at late October now, early November, kind of what we had always thought, but it's just good to see it actually happening. It doesn't matter the prediction or expectation because it doesn't always happen that way. As we know from our 2 tackles who I expected back mid to late August, and they're still not back at the end of September. They both came back, but they're both hurt again. So
let's hope he's back for October 20th, home game against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Right.
That's
nice.
We talked about it in previous shows where it'd be cool to watch Nick Chubb run out of that tunnel at home, man. Can you imagine if that doesn't build morale for a team, I don't know what else will. And
to be honest, we've had such close games the last 2 weeks. A player like Nick Chubb makes the difference.
Huge.
That's it. A Nick Chubb makes the difference. As much as we hate some of the linemen on this team sometimes, 1 or 2 of them being out there healthy would make a difference. And it's been rough to be missing all these people. And when you're missing guys that like have been out for a while or on IR, things like that, you start to discount that they are a problem. But they are still. Like, it still hurts to have all these linemen out. It still hurts to have Nick Chubb out. It kills to have David Njoku out. When is that guy getting back here? We really need him.
Yeah.
He is another guy who is the difference between a touchdown pass in this last game and not.
Or even a first down toward the end of the game. I think he probably would have gone open for a first down as opposed to him throwing for
When you're playing even with somebody and you just lose the game, 1 star player is
Yeah.
the type of guy who moves the needle a couple points. So we're almost out of time. We don't have much left to talk about this game. I did want to bring up the stupid missed extra point that at the time it happened, I thought, okay, it's unfortunate because now we're down 4, but let's just get down there and score. But then when you end up like a 4th and 3 situation at the end of the game,
Yeah.
which is I wanted to
When
be
you're
aggressive.
4 points behind.
I was thinking in my head, like, if it were down 3, some teams play for a field goal, and I hate that. So it's like I like that they have to go down there and try to score a touchdown, and they did, and it worked almost. But it would have been nice in that 4th and 3 to say, you know what, 4th and 3 is a tough situation with this tight of a defense so close to the end zone. The field is shortened. That is exactly when you want to trot out your field goal kicker to kick those 3 points and tie it up, and you're taking the momentum back from a Raiders team who's like, no, we blew it. We had the game, and we couldn't do it because that dumb missed extra point.
We cannot.
Terrible timing.
That sucked. It did, but we cannot forget when the Rainbows fumbled and Isaiah McGuire Isaiah McGuire forced a fumble, and Rodney McLeod returned it for a 25-yard touchdown. Either that brought some oomph back into the game. We're like, yeah, we got this. Let's do this. And then
it was a huge play.
Yeah.
The defense has a lot of bright spots. The tackling was terrible. They still make big plays. Myles Garrett's still getting sacks. Zadarius Smith is still getting into the backfield, so as is some of our defensive linemen. And they had a rough game in the secondary today, but Denzel Ward has had some pretty good games. And some of our other guys, like Isaiah McGuire, like Rodney McLeod, have actually Alex Wright. Some of these guys, these younger guys, have popped out and have made some real plays. Hickman, there's a ton of guys who are flashing, but the problem is we need that steadiness too, not just the flash plays. But there is a lot on the defense to still feel excited about, and I'm less worried that they can get this fixed because, like we said, it's not based on injuries. They just need to clean things up, get focused. That's
coaching
all.
And fundamentals, just like Guru 1911 said.
And honestly, like, we're playing the easy part of our schedule, but our defense is still capable of playing teams like the Steelers and
you guys hear that?
Ravens are getting a little out of hand, but
train.
The quarterback train.
Also, too, I mean, Philly looks beatable too. I mean, we thought Philly was going to be tough, but they look they look beatable. So I mean,
there's still not a lot of teams on our schedule that are like, you can't win this game. Like the Chiefs were one of our hardest games. They don't look like an unbeatable team. The Ravens look incredible right now.
Yeah.
And there's a couple other games on this docket that we have left that I'm like, I mean, it would be a long shot to win them, especially on the road. But this team needs to get things cleaned up, and there are not that many just incredibly the Dolphins stink right now. They're on our schedule. We thought they were going to be a killer, but without Tua, they look bad. And when Tua comes back, will they be in sync? Like, what's happening? Like, there's a lot still to look forward to. Washington is a tough matchup because they run well. I'm worried about that. I don't think they're unbeatable. Yeah, I mean, if they get after Jaden Daniels with Myles and Zadarius and through the middle, I don't think he's impervious to making mistakes. He's just dangerous if we can't tackle.
Yeah, he's talented. Yeah, you got to tackle him. Definitely got to tackle him.
Oh, which we're having an issue with. That'd be awesome.
Right. But it's not an issue that they had it's not an issue from last year, and we have the same players, which means I don't think this is just a bad tackling team. I think the coach needs to get in their face this week, focus them, say, if you're the first person to the ball, do not try to make a miracle play unless you're gonna make it. Like, you cannot miss. It's like telling a cornerback, if you don't think you can make this interception, you better get a hand on that receiver and knock the ball down, because if you miss and he gets it, he's running past you for a touchdown. Like, you cannot let certain things happen. If you're gonna go for the ball, you have to get it. And unless you're sure you're getting it, you got to make the play in front of you.
Yeah, I like what Jen said, those 3rd and 12s that are killing us. And I agree. And believe it or not, last week's game against Vegas, the average 3rd down was 3rd and 7. That's behind the sticks, man. That's horrible. Especially with,
Tell your offensive line stinks.
Yeah. So, I mean, they got to shorten that up. Really, really, really do.
All right. Excuse me. There is in the notes, obviously, we're going to wrap it up here real quick. The Bengals beat Dalton and Panthers 34-24. I was not expecting that, but it's the Panthers. So, yeah, that
Bad
happened.
team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bengals got their win. They got their first win. You can't be that impressed. Now, the Dalton Panthers are much better than the Bryce Panthers because Bryce looks terrible. But 10 points on the Panthers is not like some game-breaking win that scares you. So
It was like us 10 years ago.
still wait and see. Still wait and see for the Bengals. Plus, they had back Higgins, and Jamar Chase is finally, after a month, getting himself in rhythm. They're going to be offensively dangerous again going forward as long as they're healthy.
I want to skip this next one. I'm not saying it. Go ahead. Anybody else want to?
Flacco.
I'll do it. I'll do this one. Joe Flacco leads the Indianapolis Colts to a incredible win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I teased.
I'm so glad you highlighted that in the notes, Chad. Thank you. You didn't highlight a single thing the entire show.
I teased because here's why. This is just to bother Mike because he hates the Joe Flacco talk. First of all, I don't have a problem with anybody rooting for Joe Flacco against the Steelers or Baker against whoever. I have a problem with people pining for these guys to come back to the Browns because that's such a waste of all of our energy, and it's just irritating to me. But I was rooting for Joe Flacco. I hoped he won. Now, for everybody out there that's obsessed with him, he threw for like 190-something yards. So let's not pretend like he lit it up.
He almost lost the game, too, if it wasn't for a couple of rep calls. So he would have lost the game.
Yeah,
but
he didn't do anything special that Deshaun didn't do. So for all the people that are like, we need him back because he can win us games, he did less than Deshaun this game. So maybe pump the brakes there, kids.
Angel,
and
I'm going to do
lastly,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm going to do the next one, Angel, and then you get the last one. You ready? The Ravens, Joe Flacco's ex-team of the AFC North that everybody hated, okay? Everybody hated this guy 5 years ago, but here, the Ravens pummeled the Bills 35-10, and I actually watched that game, and I could not believe it.
That surprised me a little bit.
You guys know? Listen, Josh Allen has one of the least amount of passing yards this year. He's low, like 600s. Deshaun Watson has exceeded.
I was shocked by that because I thought the Bills would win for one, but I didn't think the Ravens would do that. I mean, that's 25-point differential.
Derrick Henry, dude.
Derrick Henry was monster.
Yeah. And Josh Allen's still playing well. He's not making a lot of mistakes, but he's just not who you're expecting. Neither is Patrick Mahomes right now. Like right now, if you look at the scoring of PFF, or you look at just the like ESPN like stats in order of like passer rating and total production, like the quarterback stats are weird right now. Like CJ Stroud is way lower than you'd expect. Mahomes is way lower than you expect. Like
Darnold is number one. Baker is number two.
Angel, stop it.
Derek Carr is actually number one in PFF right now, and that's not a shocker. They've been killing it in New Orleans, and fortunately, Katie's from Atlanta, so the Saints beating or losing to the Falcons was huge for her. But again, everybody's been like, "Wow, Carr's lighting it on fire." But realistically, all the stats after this first month for a lot of quarterbacks are a little mishmashed, and it might be one of those weird seasons where it may take halfway through the year before we're like, who is everybody really? Like who are the elite quarterbacks right now?
Angel.
Sam Darnold's elite right now.
I know, it's crazy. He's in the MVP race.
Yeah, he's elite, man. He's all dead eyes there in New York. Goes and
Aaron Rodgers is back to playing pretty well. Yeah. Kyler Murray had a terrible game this week, but has had a pretty decent start to the season. The Bears are probably sitting in the mirror staring at themselves.
Why didn't we get Daniels?
Daniels is so much better. Caleb Williams, he's 32nd out of 34 in PFF right now, and they're probably like, "Oh my God, did we do it again? Did we miss the quarterback?"
Yeah,
really quick.
I mean, he might turn it around, but that organization isn't good.
He might be fine. Yeah. This is early overreaction.
We'll talk about that. Yeah. Did you guys watch that Geno Smith versus Jared Goff yesterday?
Yes, and Jared Goff had the perfect game. Did you guys see that? He was like 20 with 18 for 18 with like 200 yards, 2 touchdowns thrown, and 1 caught.
Yes.
And he caught one? Oh, my God.
And his
Come on,
coach,
Raw, dude.
the coach didn't even give him the game ball. He didn't even know he was 18 for 18 to the press conference. He's like, wait, he went 18 for 18?
Well, no, there were some penalties that
game.
There was penalties where he had like drop passes drop passes, but they don't count because there was a penalty on the play and it wasn't against them.
Yeah. But also, you know what else we should be thinking about in that game, and I think the Browns should be reviewing that game. 18 for 18 means he only threw 18 passes on plays that counted, and they pummeled that team. They rocked the Seahawks, and they ran the ball. Like, they have better running backs than we have right now, but like, you can win games running the ball. Everyone, the Ravens are doing it. The Commanders can do it.
Yeah.
The Derek Carr Saints can do it. Teams are running successfully right now. Get a running game going with this team, please. You can balance your offense. It works for a lot of people. Let's try it.
Just not us. That's all.
Ugh.
Yeah. Lastly, the guards are on to the playoffs. Gardos.
Love that shirt.
They got
Keep
the
it
second
rolling.
seed, man. Second seed. They take the week off and they play the winner.
Over 90 wins. What, they have like 92?
Yeah, did you guys see who won today though?
2, yeah. Who won?
Detroit.
Detroit, yeah. I figured they might. I'd rather play them
I'm
than
torn
Houston,
right now.
Detroit's
I'm
on a
out in
hot
San
streak.
Diego. I'm out in San Diego, and I think right now the Padres are playing the Braves. So of course Katie's like all Atlanta, and I'm so used to. I'm like, oh, I finally cheer for the Padres. They made the playoffs. And I'm like, no.
Oh, why you do this to
No,
me?
I can't even cheer for them because. So we're going Braves out here in San Diego. To the distress of the town. I gotta. She would root for the Browns if this were the situation, or the Guardians. So like, let's go.
So a lot of my family. Sorry, go ahead, Angel.
No, I was gonna say Kansas City beat Baltimore. Go ahead.
Damn. A lot of my family was born in Toledo. I was born in Toledo myself. So a lot of my family are Michigan and Detroit fans. My grandfather called me today and was like, "Hey, did you watch that game?" I'm like, no, I didn't. I'm not giving them any bad juju, you know. But he's like, if the Detroit makes it to Cleveland, I'm gonna have to go for the Guardians. And I'm like, I'm glad you told me that, because if I didn't, I'd drive to your house right now. And
It's because the Indians are gonna beat the Tigers, so he has to go for the winner.
no, but he's a huge Tigers fan, man. He is. My uncle's a big Michigan fan. It just goes around. But yeah. Me and my uncle battle it out every year, and he's won the past 3 years.
Cheater.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be back. We'll be back on top.
That is tonight's show, everybody, I think, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
We
guys
got some.
have more to talk about this weekend about the upcoming Commanders game if we can find a time for any of us to actually meet up for a pregame show.
Yeah. I have a lot going on this weekend. I will figure that out, and I will let you guys know as soon as we figure that out. But until then,
follow our socials to find out. X, YouTube, Facebook, and our podcast, Spotify, iTunes. Follow us, man. We need some followers.
And anybody that's out in there in the viewership right now, whatever you followed us on that you found this, go follow us on something else too, because that would be super helpful to start getting. We're so much higher on Twitter. We got to start evening up our socials a little bit. So
yes,
hit Instagram
or just followed on YouTube.
Whatever. What do they call it? What's the Threads? Hit Instagram. Hit Threads. Find us on Facebook.
All of it. Look it up. And then we're also on Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Go follow us on there if you want to listen.
If we didn't lose so many listeners this week, we'd be growing steadily, but we took a little drop off.
Oh, yeah. Our X is, we finally hit our goal, and then bam, me and Chad started talking some stuff.
We hit our September goal, and then we started probably pounding on all the dopes out there who are like, trade Cooper for a second, and we're like, don't waste my space on my timeline with this crap.
Right.
Nobody's giving you a second for Cooper right now.
Absolutely.
Well, we're at 499. Quick update, 499. One more follower. Let's go.
More. Until then,
one more follower by the end of September. Oh, September's already over. Well, technically, we hit our goal by the end of September.
We did.
Yeah.
We just lost
hit our
them
goal by October. We just lost them in October. We need them back.
But yeah, we will see you guys sometime this weekend. Me and Angel will figure that out for the weekend show, the pregame show. And then if not, we'll make it up to you, I promise, on the Tuesday show. We'll figure it out, though.